Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Retro Chat podcast. This is a special bonus episode looking at the top 10 matches of WrestleMania history, in my opinion, and also giving you the preview for WrestleMania 38 happening this weekend in Dallas, Texas, over 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. We're not going to be looking at NXT. We're not going to be talking about the Hall of Fame, just the card. So how you doing? How is everyone? You all ready for WrestleMania? Already an exciting week of WrestleMania goodness here at the MOS Network, because on Wednesday, obviously, we were here with WrestleMania 10 recap. On Thursday, on the 31st of March, was the MOS Arena Rumble, which took place over at our friends at the Ministry of Slam and the MOS Network. Go look, watch that now. 50 pop culture icons competing in an 8-bit Fire Pro Elimination Royal Rumble, old school rules. It was a fantastic watch. Go check it out. Also at 8 o'clock on April 1st tonight on Ministry of Slam, they will be doing their preview of night 1 of WrestleMania 38. That's live at 8 o'clock. And then on Sunday at 7 o'clock, we'll be recapping night 1. They're going to be recapping NXT. They're going to be previewing night 2 and recapping Ring of Honor Supercard. But we're here to kind of give you that retro old school feel. So we're going to be counting down the top 10 matches, in my opinion, of WrestleMania history. Now, why is it my opinion? Because quite simply, wrestling is subjective, isn't it? It's like the Mount Rushmore. If you say, who is your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, it divides everybody. Some people say Hogan should be on there. Some people say The Rock should be on there. Some people say that Stone Cold should be on there, or Brett. I got mine. I want to know what yours is. So this is the top 10 WrestleMania matches. If you don't agree with me, or even if you do, let me know on social media. You can follow on Twitter and joining in the conversation using the hashtag #BackInTime at RetroChatPod. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at RetroChatPodcast. You could do as you might be doing right now and watching us on YouTube, searching for Retro Chat Podcast UK. Please like and please subscribe, because it really helps us with the algorithm and getting up those those YouTube charts. Or if you're listening, or you want to listen to the audio feed, then you can do on all good podcast providers. Just search for Retro Chat Podcast. 38 years of WrestleMania. Thousands of matches, thousands of hours, hundreds of superstars. So how did we select the top 10 matches? Well, basically, I've been a wrestling fan since 1987. That's the short part of it. The long part of it is I was introduced to it by a friend and kind of carried on from that point. And I've pretty much seen every WrestleMania and every match. And it was a really difficult decision to kind of narrow them down. But what was I looking for? I was looking for story. I was looking for in-ring ability. I was looking for matches that I still talk about to this day. Ones that if I think about it, I instantly think about that match. And what better way to kick off the top 10 countdown than going back to 1987, going back to WrestleMania 3 and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And it was one of the big main feuds because it began during a title match for the Intercontinental Championship when Savage attacked Steamboat. He pushed him over the security rail. He delivered an elbow shot and thrust into Steamboat's throat and dropped him off the top rope. And basically the storyline was that Steamboat was out with a crushed larynx and it got sent into hospital. The result of that was one of the most intense, long, bitter feuds that lasted for 6 months. It was several bloody matchups, and it finally culminated at WrestleMania 3. Now, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was accompanied by George the Animal Steele in his corner, and the Macho Man, of course, had the lovely Miss Elizabeth in his. Now, the match itself ran for nearly 15 minutes. At one point, Savage was about to use the ring bell as a weapon, but he was stopped by the Animal, who knocked him off the top rope. When Savage attempted to give Steamboat a scoop slam, Steamboat reversed it into the small package and won the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, marking the first time in Mania history that the IC strap changed hands. And this match is considered by many, including me, to be one of the greatest matches in WWE history. And, the event itself, WrestleMania 3, was iconic. 93,000 fans, March the 29th in 1987 at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. Tremendous event. And you can still pick up that match now, 30, 40 odd years later and enjoy it. So that's match 1 on our countdown. What is going to be match number 2 or number 9 in the list? Well, if I said to you, we were going back to a match featuring 2 iconic superstars. If we were going to go back to Canada, to the Skydome in Toronto, you would kind of have an idea. It's the Ultimate Warrior versus the Immortal Hulk Hogan, champion versus champion, title for title, Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, the WWF Champion, the Immortal Hulk Hogan. This took place, as we said, at the Skydome in Toronto in front of 67 ravenous fans on April 1st, 1990. Wow. There we go, right? Absolutely. Tremendous match, yeah? And it's, apart from the record-breaking attendance that it had, Mania 6 as known for this one match. And the storyline, how this one happened, was that both men, Warrior and Hogan, crossed paths at the 1990 Royal Rumble that took place in January of that year. And on the February 3rd, 1990, Hogan challenged the Warrior to the Ultimate Challenge because he had to know whether the power of Hulkamania or the power of the Warrior was the strongest force in the WWF. On February 10, the match was officially announced as the main event of WrestleMania 6 by Jack Tunney, the WWF president. And on February the 24th, he then further set the stakes by announcing that both titles would be on the line for the first time ever during the match. And it was in this event that Warrior won his sole WWF championship. Now, if you would like to know more about this whole event, WrestleMania 6, not only this match, check out the archives, because Lee and I from Ministry of Slam did a whole episode dedicated to WrestleMania 6. In fact, if you click up here momentarily, you will be able to go watch it directly. So that's number 9. Where are we going next? So WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 6. Are we going to go 3 more years in the future? Are we going to go to WrestleMania 9? I don't think so. What we are going to do is go to Florida. We're going to go to the Citrus Bowl. We're going to go to 74,500 fans as we witness the match, which put Ric Flair into retirement. Number 8 on the countdown. That ain't your boy. Ric Flair facing off against the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, at WrestleMania 24. And again, this match was just perfection to watch, right? How did it all come about, though? On February the 25th episode of WWE Raw, 2008 Hall of Fame inductee, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, challenged Shawn to a match at WrestleMania. Michaels reluctantly accepted. Because he accepted reluctantly because he knew that Vince McMahon, chairman of the WWE, had previously said that the next match Flair would lose would be his forced retirement. In the promo on Monday Night Raw, Flair said that it would be an honor for him to retire at the hands of Shawn Michaels. So let's look at the match. The career-ending match, or the career-threatening match, was one of the main events at WrestleMania 24. At the start of the match, both superstars engaged in a series of counters, and Flair shoved Michaels in a corner, making Old Yeller comments to him. In retaliation, Michaels slapped Flair in the face, which caused him to start bleeding from the mouth. Michaels attempted sweet chin music, but stopped in the process, and Flair capitalized by trapping him in the figure 4 leg lock. Michaels finally delivered Sweet Chin Music to a near fall. He then trapped Flair in a modified figure four, but Flair did the thumb to the eye. After getting to his feet, Michaels said to Flair, and you can verbally see it, "I'm sorry, I love you," and nailed Sweet Chin Music, pinned Flair to end his 35-year-long career. After the match, Michaels left quickly and Flair got a standing ovation from the crowd. An emotional Ric Flair embraced his family at ringside, and then, as he proceeded backstage, he thanked the crowd for their support. Still one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, WrestleMania 24. Rick didn't stay retired for long. He went to TNA. There we go. One name that you are going to see a lot, I believe, in this chart is Shawn Michaels, but one other name might be this man, The Undertaker. At number 7 in our countdown, it's The Undertaker versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, from WrestleMania 26. This took place on March the 28th of 2010 from Glendale, Arizona, in front of 72,219 fans. How did this match come about, you might ask? Well, a year earlier at WrestleMania 25, Michaels was unsuccessful in defeating The Undertaker and ending the streak. When that match won the 2009 Slammy Award for Match of the Year, Michaels stated in his acceptance speech that he could still defeat The Undertaker at Mania and challenged him to the rematch. A month later, The Undertaker, who was then the World Heavyweight Champion, made his reply and refused. The refusal saw Michaels obsess about facing The Undertaker at the event, going as far as attacking referee Charles Robinson and SmackDown General Manager Theodore Long after failing his title match opportunities at the Rumble and Elimination Chamber qualifiers. At the Chamber event, Michaels snuck into the match for the World Heavyweight Championship and performed Sweet Chin Music on The Undertaker, enabling Chris Jericho to defeat him and win the World Heavyweight Championship. The following night on Monday Night Raw, The Undertaker, unsurprisingly, changed his mind and accepted the rematch. But there was a stipulation. If Michaels lost, he would have to retire. Michaels accepted, stating that if he couldn't end the streak, there was no reason why his career should continue. 2 weeks later, Michaels and The Undertaker agreed on another stipulation, that the match would have no countout nor no DQ. So when you move to WrestleMania 26, this is actually the main event of the evening. The finish came when Michaels attempted Sweet Chin Music, but Undertaker countered into a chokeslam and quickly followed up by executing a second Tombstone Piledriver. Michaels kicked out of the count 2. Undertaker began to signal the end, but stopped his cutthroat action and told Michaels to stay down. Michaels taunted The Undertaker by completing the action on his own and slapping him in the face. Undertaker responded with a third Tombstone and pinned the fallen HBK for the win. After the match, the two shook hands and embraced. Michaels stayed in the ring and interacted with the fans for the final time as the event came to a close. Wow. There we go. The match that retired Shawn Michaels up until Saudi Arabia. But we don't talk about that one. Michaels is back in our list on number 6 because this time he's facing off against the Ayatollah of Rock and Roller, the Le Champion in AEW, Chris Jericho, at WrestleMania 19, because this was a feud that came from the Raw brand. After Michaels lost the World Championship to Triple H at Armageddon, he appeared in an in-ring segment with Jericho, during which Jericho stated that Shawn was washed up. After mocking Michaels and threatening to attack him, Jericho spun around and a super kick occurred. When Michaels was a guest on Jericho's in-ring show, The Highlight Reel, the following month, Jericho claimed he idolized Michael from a young age and that he had been his inspiration to become a wrestler. At the Royal Rumble, Jericho eliminated Michaels from the match. He then returned and attacked Jericho, helping to lead to his elimination, and the match was set at WrestleMania 19. Now, if you read that storyline, that backstory, that reminds me a lot of what's happening in AEW with MJF and CM Punk. Very similar sort of background story that led into Revolution. So the finish of the match came after Michaels escaped the walls of Jericho. He hit Jericho with sweet chin music for a near fall. After that, Jericho attempted a suplex. Michaels countered into a roll-up, and that gave him the pinfall win. After the match, Jericho offered to shake hands. They hugged before Jericho attacked Michaels with a low blow. Halfway through our list right now, we're about to come on to number 5, and this time we are heading back in time from WrestleMania 19 to WrestleMania 13, and it's the match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin at number 5 from WrestleMania 13. What more can you say about this match? You know, this had everything. The storyline for this one was about the fact that they started it at Survivor Series 96. It was from 1996 King of the Ring, in which the rivalry really started while Bret was sabbatical. He returned at the Survivor Series. He defeated Austin. They were the final 2 participants in the 1997 Royal Rumble. Hart eliminated Austin. The refs didn't see it. He came back in. He eliminated the Hitman Bret Hart. That then went to a 4 corners elimination match at Final 4, which Hart won. The next night on Monday Night Raw, Austin cost Hart the strap, meaning Psycho Sid won it. So we moved to WrestleMania 13. Yeah, we moved to this match with the guest referee of Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man. And this match had everything. It was unparalleled. It had the double turn. Austin going face and Bret going heel. And it's known for that iconic moment, that iconic scene where the camera gets Steve Austin in the sharpshooter with blood pouring down his face. Man, it's just one of the best ones. But Bret wouldn't release the sharpshooter. He really wouldn't. The fans just booed him. And in the end, it was Shamrock who had to perform a waistlock takedown and then challenged him to a fight. Wow. The beginning of the heel Bret the Hitman Hart. The beginning of, as some may say, maybe the end of the Bret era within the WWE. Next up, we have got a joint entry at number 4, and I don't think it's going to take much to guess what it is. It's the bad guy, Razor Ramon versus HBK Shawn Michaels in the ladder match at WrestleMania 10, and also the Battle of the Brothers, Bret versus Owen from WrestleMania 10. And I'm not going to go into detail on that because you can check it in the archive from this past week when we talked in detail about WrestleMania 10. That means we are 3 away from the final countdown about who is going to be the number 1 match. And this time, we're going to go back to WrestleMania 19. We're going to go to Hulk Hogan. We're going to go to Vince McMahon. And it is, of course, Vince versus Hulk at Mania 19. And this was a SmackDown feud that took place between these two, because 1 month prior at No Way Out, during a match between Hogan and Rock, McMahon came down the ring not only to distract Hogan, which allowed the referee, Sylvain Grenier, to give Rock a chair, which Rock used to hit Hogan and then pin him for the win. After No Way Out, McMahon proclaimed that Mania was dead and proclaiming a new Mania, McMahon-O-Mania. You can't write this. On the March 6th episode of SmackDown, Hogan informed him that Hulkamania was not dead and that Vince had nothing to do with creating it. McMahon then informed Hogan that he did not hate Hulkamaniacs or Hulkamania. He hated Hogan. He told Hogan that he hated him for leaving the WWE and go and join Turner and WCW. And he hated him for testifying against him in the steroid trial in the 1990s. McMahon proceeded by challenging Hogan to a match at WrestleMania, where if Hogan lost, he would have to retire. Hogan accepted the challenge later that night. A couple of weeks later, on the March 20th edition of Friday Night SmackDown, McMahon and Hogan had a contract signing for WrestleMania. As Hogan was preparing to sign it, McMahon attacked him with a steel chair. Shortly afterwards, McMahon hit Hogan several times with a chair in the head, causing him to bleed. McMahon then signed the contract and forced Hogan to sign it with his blood. The seventh match at WrestleMania 19 was then a street fight between Hulk and the chairman. Both Hogan and McMahon tested each other's strengths in the beginning. Late into the match, the Hot Rod Rowdy Roddy Piper interfered and hit Hogan with a pipe. Hogan, however, later retaliated by delivering a big boot, 3 running leg drops to McMahon, and pinned him. Thus, Hogan won the match and didn't have to retire. 2 matches away from the end of the top 10 tournament, and match number 2 in our countdown, they're back again. Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, WrestleMania 12, the 60-minute Iron Man match that took place in Anaheim, California, in front of 18,000 fans. This was the first time that the WWF Championship had been up for grabs in a 60-minute Iron Man match. The rules were simple. The superstar who got the most decisions at the end of the 60 minutes won, and therefore would become the WWF champion. Not that straightforward. Really not that straightforward. And I'll tell you why. Because we came to the end of the 60 minutes, both men were on 0. No pinfalls, no countouts, no submissions, no DQ. Bret was walking up the aisle thinking, that was it. It's all done. I've retained the strap. When Gorilla Monsoon came out and said, you're going into sudden death. The match restarted. Michaels, with a super kick, pinned the Hitman Bret Hart and won the WWF Championship. The boyhood dream had come true for Shawn Michaels. All right, this is it. This is it. The last match. Match number 1. The best, the top WrestleMania match of all time. What is it going to be? Let's give you some clues. One of these guys has already been in at least one WrestleMania match talked about tonight. One of these has already been mentioned. And this match took place in Canada. Took place at a venue we've already mentioned, the Sky Dome. Took place in front of 68,000 fans. It was billed as Icon versus Icon. It took place on March the 17th, 2002. And it pitted The Rock against Hollywood Hulk Hogan. This was the match that passed the baton between the old generation and the new generation. I don't know what else you can really say about this match. It was pure brilliance. It started from No Way Out. It started with involvement by Austin. It was just perfect storytelling and perfect writing and perfect delivery from all of the people that were involved, from Scott Hall, from Kevin Nash, from Hulk Hogan, from The Rock, from Steve Austin. We moved to WrestleMania X8. The Rock faced Hogan in a match dubbed, as we said, Icon versus Icon. Despite Rock portraying a face and Hogan a heel, the Canadian crowd cheered Hulk over The Rock. And I kind of expected that, didn't you? Because Hogan is just synonymous with professional wrestling. The Rock applied the sharpshooter on Hogan at one point, but the referee was down and unable to acknowledge the submission. The Rock released the hold. He tried to revive the referee, but Hogan hit a low blow and a rock bottom for a near fall. The two tried after 2 more rock bottoms and people's elbow. The Rock pinned Hogan and won the match. At the conclusion of the event, Rock Hogan shook hands. But as Rock left the ring, Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Scott Hall came and attacked Hogan, and thus ended his involvement with the NWO. The Great One returned to the ring, saved Hogan from a further attack, and as a sign of respect, The Rock stopped Hulk from leaving the ring and asked him to pose for the crowd, turning Hogan into a face for the first time since 1999. Now, Hogan gave an interview in 2013 which indicated that he and The Rock changed the match on the fly based on the crowd's response. So there you go. there is my top 10 matches of WrestleMania. If you'd like to know more about this one, The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, then check out the Ministry of Slam, as they did a special WrestleMania 8 commemorative episode just a few weeks ago. Okay, what did you think of the top 10 list? Let me know. Let me know on Twitter at RetroChatPod using the hashtag #BackInTime, or join us on Facebook and Instagram at RetroChatPodcast. Coming up next, we're going to look at the card for WrestleMania. Going to be kicking off with Saturday, night one, and then moving into Sunday. And the first match on the card is Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Okay, I'm not going to go into much detail on the analysis of these ones, right? Because WWE as a product isn't that good at the moment. When you compare it to the NWA, when you compare it to Impact, when you compare it to AEW, it's really sucking. And part of the reason is because of this. Drew McIntyre, former WWE champion, a former main event performer, now in a match with Happy Corbin. This is an easy one for me. Drew McIntyre all the way. The SmackDown tag team titles are on the line as the Bloodline, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy, defend against the former Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Again, easy for me to say. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boggs. Are we going to see a title change? I really don't think so. I think the Bloodline are dominating Friday Night SmackDown with Roman Reigns, with Paul Heyman. We're going to touch on them later on. I cannot see them doing a title switch. The only way I possibly could see this happening is if Roman drops the championship to Brock Lesnar on night 2. Slim chance of that happening. Next up, it's the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Of course, two SmackDown teams. You've got to think, where is Pete Dunne? Who's not called that anymore. Where is Pete Dunne going to come into equation in this match? Again, for me, I think that because of what happened with Big E a few weeks ago on SmackDown, suffering the broken neck, that this one is going to go to the New Day. Original plans were going to be a 6-man. It was going to be Sheamus, Ridge, and Pete Dunne versus the New Day. Obviously, that's been dropped because of the injury. So my money is on the New Day. We got tag team action up next as The Miz and Logan Paul face off against Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Yeah, there's a lot of people about this one saying that the Mysterios are going to win, right? I don't think they will. In fact, if anything, I'm kind of predicting that it's going to be Logan Paul and The Miz going over, because he can compete. Logan Paul is actually a good worker, and I still think we're eventually going to get this split between the Mysterios, Dominic and Rey, leading to a one-on-one feud. They've been teasing it for a while. It needs to happen now. I'm going with The Miz and Logan Paul. Now, I've got it in a different order, but I'm going to change that order because I want to talk about one of these matches in a bit more detail. So let's move to the first of our women's championship matches. It's from Raw. It's Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. This is an interesting one because it was at SummerSlam last year when Becky returned and completely decimated Bianca in about 10 seconds. Bianca's never quite been the same. The push stopped, which is a shame because as a younger talent, Bianca was doing really well and got the title over. They have given Bianca a bit more TV time recently. They have given her more of offense against Becky Lynch. And I think this has all been a long-term plan. So therefore, I'm predicting Bianca Belair to walk out of WrestleMania Night 1 as the winner of the match, not the new women's champion, Becky Lynch, to retain. Why do I think that? Because we've also got the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line, and Charlotte Flair will defend against Ronda Rousey. And in this one, I'm expecting Rousey to win the title from Flair. This has been building since the Royal Rumble. We have been building towards this title change. If they flip the titles, if they switch it and Ronda Rousey wins, don't expect Becky Lynch to drop. If Becky Lynch drops it to Bianca, don't expect Charlotte Flair to drop. They're not going to do that. So my money is on Ronda Rousey defeating Flair to become SmackDown Women's Champion, and Becky Lynch losing the match but retaining the Raw Women's Championship against Bianca. What we know is going to headline night one of WrestleMania is Kevin Owens and the KO show, and his guest from Dallas, Texas, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Is it going to be a match? Doubtful, but I would imagine Austin is going to have some sort of physical interaction. He's been training, he's been getting himself up there. Expect the Battle of the Stunners as Steve Austin faces off against Kevin Owens in something that I am really looking forward to, because Kevin Owens cutting a promo is on fire, absolutely on the top of his game. But it doesn't matter about any match on night one, because there's one match that's got everybody talking. Seth Rollins versus TBA. I've never heard of this TBA guy. I hear he's quite not joking. Seth Rollins versus a competitor to be announced, and you're not going to know who that is until Saturday night. The money is on Cody Rhodes, AEW's former EVP, who left the company in February, has been highly rumored to be joining the WWE again and debuting at WrestleMania. But they have to deliver on that now. There's too much speculation on it being Cody Rhodes. There's rumors that Shane McMahon is also going to be back within the WWE at WrestleMania. The original plan, as of the Royal Rumble, was for a match to be set up between Shane and Seth at WrestleMania. Shane obviously left the WWE, or was terminated, whatever you want to read, and that storyline hasn't happened. The crowd are expecting Cody Rhodes, and this could go nuclear heat if he doesn't appear. Now, Dave Meltzer is reporting that if he doesn't appear, it's because he's backed out. The WWE are expecting him to be there. My money is on Cody Rhodes being there. So, if it's Cody Rhodes, you are not going to job him out in his Mania return. Cody Rhodes will go over Seth Rollins. If it's Shane McMahon, then it's a Seth Rollins win. Complicated, right? 2 nights, lots of matches, but this is really good because it gets a lot of the roster on the card. On night 2, we have the rated R superstar Edge, the Hall of Famer, facing off against the phenomenal AJ Styles, who is finally back in the main event scene, who is finally back where he should be. This is going to be a good one. The promos from both of these guys have been electric over the past few weeks. However, Edge to win. Edge is just been rocking it since going heel. Whole new mentality for him. I'm putting my money on Edge to defeat by a pinfall AJ Styles. This past Monday night on Raw, the return of Bobby Lashley, setting up a match with Omos. This is going to be a filler. Don't really know what to expect on this one. Money is with Bobby Lashley. SmackDown announcer Pat McAfee is in a match against McMahon's protege, Austin Theory. This is going to be a good one. Pat, who is such a diehard WWE fan, and actually one of the best things to happen to SmackDown on commentary in recent years. So, is it going to be a classic? No. Is Pat McAfee going to get his spots in? Yes. Is he going to go over? Absolutely. The winner will be Pat McAfee. Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn. Yeah, okay. This is going to be an easy one to predict, right? It's not going to be Sami Zayn. It's going to be Johnny Knoxville. This whole storyline with Sami and the conspiracy theorists, it's getting old. Yeah, it is getting old. Very funny, though, when Knoxville put Sami's mobile number out and people started ringing it. If I'd seen it earlier, I would have done it myself. Johnny Knoxville will go over Sami Zayn in this one. The Raw Tag Team titles are on the line as the RK Bro will be defending against the Alpha Academy and the Street Profits. One of the most entertaining things in the tag team division at the moment is Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. Head over to Ministry of Slam because they've got a classic interview with Randy from 2009 up available now. You can listen to how he's changed and his thoughts on WrestleMania on that interview. A tricky one. Alpha Academy have been on a good run. Otis and Chad Gable have definitely gelled as a tag team. The Street Profits have always been good, but my money's on RK Bro, the most over tag team in the WWF at the moment, so I'm going with them, and they will retain. The Women's Tag Team Championship is also on the line as Queen Zelina and Carmella face off against Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Of course, her former tag team partner Baszler's was Nia Jax, who got released, no longer with the company. Sasha Banks and Naomi have got a point to prove. We know that Bayley and Asuka are backstage at WrestleMania. They've been flown in Dallas. They are ready to return. What impact are they going to have on this match, if any? Will Bayley interfere and cost Sasha Banks? Will Queen Zelina and Carmella retain? No. My money is on Sasha Banks and Naomi. I think they're going to do it. If it's not them, it's going to be Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. I can't see Queen Zelina and Carmella retaining, not with the level of talent. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan would be a tremendous win. Liv has done some amazing work over the past 12 months in the WWE. Really underappreciated, undervalued, I think, by the booking team and the fans. But this is going to be a good one. Can't call it. I'm going to go with Sasha Banks and Naomi. The main event. The match that everyone is talking about. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman from the Bloodline facing off against the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. WWE Champion, Universal Champion, title versus title, winner takes all. We have seen this match a number of times, but this is different. This feels different. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's title versus title. I don't know if it's because Brock seems to have a different attitude. I don't know if it's because Roman is portraying the best he's done in years. This has a big game feel to it, has a big match feel. Could go either way. We've already seen storyline of Paul Heyman being dropped by Roman Reigns, supporting Brock Lesnar, costing Brock Lesnar the WWE Universal Champion, the WWE Championship. Lesnar winning the Universal strap at Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia in February. Brock is on a part-time deal. We know that. Reigns is the face now of the WWE. Whether you like him or whether you don't, Reigns is the face that runs the place. Sorry, AJ. It's got to be Roman Reigns, right? So let's see how we do. That's it. That's WrestleMania. WrestleMania 38 over 2 nights. Every match previewed, every match discussed, plus our top 10 WrestleMania matches. Next week, here at the Retro Chat podcast, we're going to be back to just one show. We're going to be looking at Wrestling Society X. We're going to be going back in time to the MTV product that was released and looking at what happened in those 10 episodes, how it's impacted professional wrestling, and would it work now? Plus, we'll be recapping WrestleMania, giving you my views on it. We may have a guest. I'm just waiting to find out if someone who is currently in Dallas will be free to come on and have a chat and talk about the WrestleMania experience. I want to know from you, though, what you think of WrestleMania, what you thought of the top 10 matches that we did in the countdown list earlier on. And I want you to do that by speaking on social media. Either follow us on Twitter and join in the conversation at Retro Chat Pod, hashtag Back in Time, or Facebook and Instagram at Retro Chat Podcast. Comment, like, and subscribe on this video on YouTube by searching Retro Chat Podcast, or listen to the podcast on the audio feed. Just search Retro Chat Podcast on all main podcast providers. That's it for me. Before I go, I'm going to head out to a quick promo, letting you know what's going to happen across all of the MOS Network. So here is Lee and Lawrence.
Join the MOS Network,
the home of the Ministry of Slam Pro Wrestling show every Sunday at 7 p.m. UK time. We bring you all the latest wrestling news, fun segments, and of course we bring you classic wrestling interviews from the last 20 years.
The only people that really have taken shots at us are the people that are really avid WWE fans.
We are also the home of the Retro Chat Podcast. Go back in time with Andy Evans every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK.
And don't forget the Ministry of Horror show with Tez every single Tuesday, where he looks back, brings in special guests, and looks at the history of horror.
The MOS Network is an awesome community for wrestling fans, pop culture fans, and people who like positive energy all around the world.
Come and make friends with like-minded fans 24/7 in our exclusive Discord community.
Gaming and music streams. Come on. And for you audio listeners, we also have the Ministry of Slam on the podcast feeds.
Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you check out your audio podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling wins with the MOS Network.
There we have it. Wrestling wins, entertainment wins across the MOS Network. Some really good shows coming up on there, including Wrestling Society X with me next Wednesday, and Ministry of Horror with Tez on Tuesday, and all of the action by the Ministry of Slam guys on a Sunday at 7 o'clock. So just to recap, next week we will be doing Wrestling Society X. We're going to be looking back at that legacy of that show. Plus, by the time we get to that, 3 episodes of Star Trek Picard will have aired. We'll be talking on that and touching base on what is happening in that iconic series. That's really heating up. But until then, my name's Andy Evans. I will see you next week. Enjoy WrestleMania. Live long, guys. I'll see you. Why was I going Star Trek on that? I'll see you soon. See you at the matches. Take care.